Good morning, everybody. Over the next 18 minutes that we spend together, more than $10 million will be donated by individuals to nonprofits across the country. Think about that. $10 million is given out every 18 minutes in this country. So if you want your nonprofit organization to earn its share of that money, you cannot afford to neglect your event messaging. Now, I've worked with a lot of nonprofits. When it comes to messaging, I've seen successful strategies, failing strategies, no strategy at all, sometimes all at the same organization. I started my career at the Pasadena Conservatory of Music, moved to the University of Southern California, my alma mater, and then to Children's Hospital Los Angeles. And I'm also on the board of directors of Elemental Music, a small nonprofit in Santa Monica. So I want to talk with you guys about the tools and techniques that I've seen and used at these and other nonprofits, and how you guys can incorporate these tools into your own event production to help focus and drive home your event messaging. So let's start at the beginning. When we talk about the importance of messaging at nonprofit events, what do we mean? The easiest way to break it down, event messaging, is basically just short-term branding. See, nonprofits, we don't typically have big budgets for show-stopping performances or beautiful ballrooms. So our events tend to look very different than corporate branded events might. But that's okay, because we're not trying to build aspirational brands. We're not saying that buying our products will help you live your best life. Instead, what we have to do is we have to get our guests emotionally invested in who we are and what we do. Now, with only a couple of hours available at your event, clear messaging is crucial to help you communicate to your audience why they're there and to help lay the foundation for further action on their part. Messaging is about helping you achieve the goals of your organization through the goals of your event. We can do all of that effectively by focusing on why. Now, any well-conceived event has a purpose, it has a goal, it has a reason for existing. It needs a why. Remember, we're not just getting some friends together to get drunk and have a good time. That's not actually an event. It doesn't count. What we need to do is we need to define our specific purpose for getting these specific people to brave rush hour traffic, come to this specific venue, spend their time with us. What do we need these people to take away from this event? Now, once you lock down your event why, you can start developing your event-specific goals. Now, it's still stunning to me how many people put together events, particularly in the nonprofit world, without ever talking in concrete terms about why this event needs to happen and what it needs to achieve. You cannot craft a strong message if you do not know what you want that message to help you accomplish. And many of you are probably familiar with Peter Drucker's SMART goals, used as an employee management tool that's setting goals that are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. But these can actually be great benchmarks for us to use with our events. If one of your colleagues comes to you and asks you to put together an event for donors, that colleague needs to know how they're going to define success for that event. Whether that's going to be a specific number of new donors coming in post-event, or a certain number of dollars raised in the months following the event. But no matter how you want to measure it, your nonprofit should never launch an event without knowing how you're going to define success for it. And once you have your goals, you can start crafting your message. You should be able to express your message in a declarative sentence, like a thesis statement. We have the best heart doctors in the country. It's a clear message. Let's say for a given event at CHLA, that's our message, that's our main takeaway for guests. That's what we want them to remember when they leave the audience. But it's not the only thing we want them to hear. We need to accomplish other stuff. So for that, we need to look at our goals. Maybe our goals for the event are, we've got some big potential donors in the room. We want to convert them to actually being donors. And maybe we want to show them how well we treat our current donors, so they'll be a little more inclined to give. Maybe one of our doctors is thinking about leaving the hospital, going somewhere else. We want to motivate her to stay by making her feel more welcome, more vital. So we can address these goals by making them supporting parts of our message. Now, once you have a clear message, you can start shaping your event. You may already know what kind of event it's going to be, what it's going to look like, but sometimes you can use your desired messaging to help determine the nature of your event. At Elemental Music, our goals this year are to increase giving from our donor base, to engage new sponsors, and to raise awareness of our programs on the West Side. We want an annual event that can achieve all of this, but we're not ready to support something like a big gala. So we came up with another idea for an event that we can do every year that's going to accomplish these goals, but for a much smaller budget. That's going to be an annual Easter egg hunt. Surprisingly, it turns out there are no egg hunts anywhere on the West Side, so we have no local competition. We can give families some great memories that they'll affiliate with us in the future. We can have current elemental music students performing to demonstrate what we can achieve, and we can attract new sponsors with the opportunity for them to reach hundreds of families all at once. So for a small financial output, we can expose Elemental to a new audience, attract new sponsors, and hopefully bring in more money than we previously have. Now, once you've got the bones of your event laid out, you can start working on your program. That's going to do the heavy lifting of delivering your message, right? So with smaller budgets, again, sometimes our program is all we have. That's where our flash has to come from. So there are really 3 keys to building an impactful program. That first key is going to be passion. Emotion is crucial in the delivery of your message. Remember that the people in your audience are not there by accident. They didn't just stumble into the venue. Someone invited them, probably somebody else in that room who has a personal connection to them. One recent survey found that 24% of people, almost a quarter of people who give to a charity, give to whatever charity they support because they know someone who works there. So you owe it not just to the person being invited, but to the person doing the inviting to make sure you deliver a message that is impactful and that will touch them. Actually, I recently ran into this from the other side. At Elemental Music, I had to, that's all right, we'll skip that, we'll come back to that later. The second key is coherence. So you need to be able to communicate your message very clearly to your audience. You have to understand what your message is to make sure that your audience gets it, right? When they leave that night, they have to know what you just told them. And then your third key is going to be a call to action. So you have to make sure that your audience has to leave knowing something that they can do to help you out, whether that's going to be making a hard gift or just telling their friends about the incredible work that you do. They have to be invited to join you on your journey. Now, even beyond your content that's in your program, the way that you shape your program can help set up an audience to be more receptive to receiving your message. Any strong program is going to borrow at least some of its flow from basic 3-act story structure. So if we map this out for an event at CHLA, maybe our first act is going to be our MC, welcoming everybody, introducing the heavy hitters in the crowd, making them feel special. We'll build in our rising action, incorporating more emotion. This is our CEO, talking about the incredible work being done by one of our medical specialties. And then we build to our emotional climax with one of our star doctors coming out on stage to talk about her work with a particular patient, then bringing that patient out on stage so she can talk about her experience at Children's Hospital and how she might not be alive today if it weren't for the support of people like you. And of course, you don't want too much of a good thing. You've got your quick falling action, a little button on the end. You don't belabor the point. You give your audience time to process what they've just experienced. So our MC comes back, thanks everyone for coming. Maybe they encourage everyone to give generously. Maybe they leave that ask for the donor managers to make after the event. But it all comes back to why. What do we want to achieve, and why are these people in the room that night? Granted, maybe you don't represent a nonprofit organization that can bring up adorable children to talk about how you literally saved their life. But that's okay, it doesn't matter, because no matter where you go, the principles stay the same. At USC, we didn't start a commencement ceremony giving out our graduates' diplomas, right? You start smaller. You start by welcoming friends, family, faculty. You introduce your university deans, your trustees. You bring out your valedictorian for their speech. You give out your honorary degrees. You have your big name commencement speaker. And then finally, you get to the moment that literally everyone has been waiting for. You confer your students' degrees, you drop the mic, you get off stage, and you shut it down. And people laugh, they cry, they hug, and there's nothing like that moment in the world. But it works because you have thought about why you are there, what message you want to convey. And you understand how to structure your program to keep your audience interested and emotionally invested. Now, of course, your program is only one tool that you have that can help get your message out. You can do a lot before anybody even steps on stage. So when there's not a lot of money to go around, you got to think about what you can do to create that environment that sets your audience up, that helps them be more receptive to your message. Music is a great way to do this. We tend to take for granted what music does for us, but it has a real power to put us in a specific mental space. If I play this song, you guys all get a very specific mental image, right? Maybe not that mental image. But same goes if we play a song like this. That brings something specific to mind. So we got to remember that music can transport an audience without them even realizing that it's happening. At CHLA, we host an annual event called Mega Miracle Day, where we bring together all of our corporate fundraising partners like Walmart, Walgreens, Costco, Rite Aid. We get them excited about their upcoming fundraising campaigns, the ones where they ask you at the cash register, would you like to give $1 to Children's Hospital Los Angeles? So one of our recent Mega Miracle Days downtown LA Live was sports themed. So with limited resources, we had to find ways to make our corporate partners feel like they were part of the program and not just passive observers. So we encouraged them to wear their favorite team jersey. That costs us nothing. It gets them involved before they even leave the house. We put cheap noisemakers and pom-poms on the seats so they could cheer when we call out their name. And we used music to help set the stage. So we had DJ Dents from the LA Clippers organization provide the pre-show pump-up music. That got some of our partners up on stage dancing, and this is before 9 a.m. We ended the show on a literal high note with the USC Trojan Marching Band. So we didn't have to spend a lot of money to create an environment that enhanced our theme, got our partners excited to be there, and made them feel like they were about to participate in something special, not just watch from the sidelines. So when your program is about to begin, think about what you can do to get your audience invested. Think about that first impression you're about to make on them. At CHLA, our previous CEO would sometimes get up to the podium and he'd shush everyone to get their attention. Shh, shh. Our current CEO likes to have one of us clink a glass to get everybody's attention. At USC, we would start every event with a voiceover. That's my personal preference. It quiets the audience, sets the stage, and introduces a little bit of drama. It doesn't have to be a serious thing either, right? With different inflection, you can make a voiceover work for any event. It can be serious. Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. Our program will begin momentarily. You could do high energy. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome to BizBash 2017. Right? You can even do Disney style. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. But of course, sometimes there's really no match for a limited budget, like exercising your creativity. I think we all like taking inspiration from different places, but I think there's a lot we can learn from how different fields approach the delivery of a message. So let me show you something. These are the terms and conditions that you agree to every time you use an Apple product. They used to be 57 pages, so this is actually an improvement. But we don't read them. We'd be bored to tears if we tried, probably. But the artist Robert Sikoriak found a way to make these terms interesting. He wrote the entire text of these terms and conditions into the body of a graphic novel, with each page drawn in a different comic style. This guy took the most boring, mundane text that you and I have never read, and he turned it into something that you or I might actually pay money for. That's an incredible creative reinvention. You may have heard of the Dear Data project by Georgia Lupi and Stephanie Posavec. These two designers became pen pals. They exchanged weekly postcards with different graphic representations of some part of their life each week. So they would catalog every time they walked through a door, every moment of uncertainty they felt, every time they laughed, and they translated into graphic images like this. Again, this is mundane, everyday data that we don't even think about being presented in new and engaging and creative ways. There is no reason we can't do the same for our events. Just yesterday, in fact, CHLA held an event celebrating the dedication of the Panda Express floor at the hospital in honor of a $10 million pledge from Panda Express. Now, as part of this pledge, Panda Express had given the hospital a statue of a panda that now lives in a bamboo garden in our emergency department. So the hospital's donor manager, who helped put this gift together from the hospital side, wanted to give a gift back to Panda Express during the ceremony. So she was super excited to order a copy of the exact same statue they gave us and give it to them. I thought that was probably not the best gift that we could give them. It's kind of easy to misinterpret, right? Like, oh, I love it. Wow, this is great. Hey, I got you the same thing. But it was done, it was decided, it was ordered, we had to make it work. So we took apart the script that the donor manager had written. We thought about why we were there, what message we wanted to convey. Gratitude and recognition, absolutely, but also hope for a continued partnership with Panda in the future, inspiration for their employees, and a message to Panda and the public that CHLA is a vital part of the fabric of Los Angeles. So we wrote a new script that frames our gift to them as a reflection, not a copy, of their gift to us. It's our hope that when their leadership and their employees see that panda every day at their corporate offices, they'll be reminded of its twin at the hospital. And they can be inspired by the depth of their commitment to us. And they can take pride in the concrete impact that they have had on the lives of children. It's just a different way of looking at what's already out there. Several years ago at USC, I produced the inauguration of the university's president. This was going to be a massive ceremony with a ton of different components, thousands of people. His chief of staff, during the planning process, came up with the idea of adding a parade of nations, with one student from each country represented in USC's student body marching into the park, carrying the flag of their country. I already had thousands of people marching to worry about. I did not want to add another 120. Really did not. But I was so caught up in the planning of the event that I had forgotten about the message. And on the day of the event, my wife was a volunteer giving out those international flags. So one student came up, checked in, she handed him his flag, and as he took his flag, he started to cry. He was so proud. He told her he was so proud to see his country's flag and to represent his nation. And he was so honored that USC had not forgotten him. It was such a little thing that I had taken for granted, like clicking I accept on those terms and conditions. My wife still gets emotional talking about it. I get emotional talking about it. I wasn't even there. But see, I had forgotten that the smallest things that we do in the course of our events can have a real meaning and leave a lasting impact. I had lost sight of the why, but I think of that story when I need to be reminded. There's an excellent TED Talk by the author Simon Sinek about how great leaders inspire action. He talks about the 1963 Civil Rights March on Washington, where Martin Luther King Jr. delivered his I Have a Dream speech. People marched because they believed. It was a cause that they were passionate about. There was a call to action, and they heard that call. And Simon reminds us that there were no cell phones, there was no social media, and yet 200 to 300,000 people showed up at the right day, at the right time, at the right place. Imagine what you can do today with the tools at your disposal. That's what I want for each of you, is use these tools that you already have. They cost you nothing but a little bit of time, and your investment will be rewarded. Remember that more than $10 million is given out by individuals to nonprofits in this country every 18 minutes. The clock says I've been up here for 18 minutes, so it is time for you guys to go out and get your share. Thank you.